What's up, guys? Welcome to the Faith Created Podcast. This is episode 4, and as you can tell, it looks different. Firstly, I have a few things to apologize for. There's no video except for one clip in this. There's the clip later on in the episode. A massive mistake happened on my end, and not exactly happy. You see, this is exactly what went down, alright? Let me break it down for you, okay? So, we filmed episode 3. It went really good. We uploaded all the footage, all the audio is amazing. But I never formatted my card. Then we film episode 4. So then I go to upload episode 4's audio files and video files. And instead of dragging episode 4's video files over, I dragged episode 3's video files over, not knowing it. Formatted the card, and voila. Deleted all of our footage except for one magical clip that happened to survive. Yeah, and I didn't really want to, waste this episode because it's such a good conversation about suffering. Why is there suffering in the world? So we break it down from Genesis and we go all the way to the New Testament on why suffering is in the world. It's such a good topic. I think you guys will love it. So bear with us. You might have to just listen to this episode. I know a lot of you guys like to watch. If you're anything like me, you like to watch, but this one you might have to listen to. But trust me, it's a banger. The last thing I want to apologize for is the delay on this episode. It came out 2 weeks later than our normal drop date. We are still here, and if you guys still showed up, thank you. You guys are absolute legends. So we're still in this. We're still going for the podcast strong. I just had a really crazy last couple of weeks that I wasn't able to get around to this, but I'm really excited for you guys to watch this. Let's go ahead and get started. And we are live, baby.
Bro, right in the middle of me yawning too.
Well, so like,
do me dirty like
I mean, you know how the intro goes. It has the nice title slide.
It does.
And then we're like in the background, grabbing our coffee, yawning.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, I had to catch you off guard.
Well, we are shooting this podcast a little bit later. I mean, not too much. It's not like super late. It's only 9 p.m. But
9 p.m. and I'm drinking coffee.
Bro, what happened to fixing your sleep schedule? I mean, you were doing so good. Like, you woke up early this morning, and how is that going to affect you?
Yeah, it was going really well, and then we had to film a podcast Friday. It's Friday night,
It's Friday night, baby.
It's Friday night.
It's the weekend.
You know what we're doing after this?
Sleeping?
No, that's why I'm drinking coffee, bro.
Well, I'm going to sleep. I don't know what you got planned, bro.
I got some Minecraft grinding or something cool, okay?
Okay. All right. You know what? That's fair. I might have to join you.
Okay. Well,
I might have to.
More than welcome. Just like you guys are all welcome to the Faith Created Podcast. It's almost like we planned that. That was cute.
That was cute.
That was nice.
We should do that more often.
Totally. Welcome back. This is episode 4.
Yes.
Can you believe that? Episode 4.
Wow, it's been a month already since we started.
And what's really weird, is, and you guys may have noticed this if you're watching, today, episode 2 technically dropped. So we're like 2 episodes ahead on filming.
Mm-hmm.
So like technically when episode 2 launched, it came out on like what's today, the 22nd or something?
Today's the 19th.
Okay. Oh yeah. So it's the 19th, and like we were talking about my New Year's story, and it's like like 19 days after the.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Oh well.
I like being ahead. These episodes, and if anything happens, we should have episodes up in case we couldn't film for a week. Or
yeah.
Like that,
yeah. So, no, I love it, bro.
Yeah. And another thing I've been like, just because we're so behind, so ahead, I should say, is like we've gotten requests or really good feedback on the podcast, in which we already filmed the first 3 episodes.
Just from the first episode.
Yeah. So we had really good feedback. Tons of you guys on the first episode. I know we're like, by the time you're watching this, it's like way past. But thank you to everyone supporting. And if you're watching episode 4, listen. I said this week 2, I think. If you made it to episode 2, you were an elite legend.
Yeah.
Episode 4, there's not even a title for that. Like, I would say the title would be God, but we can't be gods. So, but you're pretty close. I would say you're a disciple now. Yeah, okay, maybe not. Just whatever. Just forget about it. Anyways, gosh. Okay. A disciple. You're a disciple of the faith creative.
It's You said that as if that was like written in the Bible of like, like Luke 14 where it talks about the cost of being a disciple and like consider all these things. Like this was in it. Like if you made it to episode 4 of the Faith
Pretty much, dude.
Creative Podcast, you are now a disciple
You're
of Jesus Christ.
basically a disciple.
Yeah, but
basically.
Anyways, we're glad you guys are here to join us tonight. We're super excited to dive into tonight and just to be back for another week and just discussing some great topics.
Yeah.
So we're just we're excited that you're here. We're praying for you guys and shall we dive into it?
Yeah. I just wanted to point out, like you may have noticed that our studio changed a little bit.
Just a bit.
Our tape. I moved the camera forward and put on a wide lens. The last lens, I couldn't figure it out. Worked the last of me. And all my lenses are manual focus, so it's not autofocus. That I have to set the focus and then sit down. So, in a few of the episodes, one of us was out of focus the entire time without me ever knowing because I'm right here. And then what was really weird was we were on the same focal length like we are here. And one of us was out of focus and one of us was in focus. It made literally no sense to me. So we switched up the lenses, and I think it looks better.
I really like it. Yeah. And then we added it. We moved the couches a bit closer.
Yep.
We got the new middle table. This is part of my desk set. And so we just pulled this right out of my room. And then we still got the classic lanterns out, but we did add a book and like some highlighters, pens, and a little notebook right there too, just for some aesthetic. And you can't see either, but we're attempting to, like, when we look at the camera, for whatever reason it's like darker just because there's no lights on that side that are really coming this way, so you guys can't see it, but there's like a big reflective tinfoil looking thing right there that's like reflecting the light back onto our faces in an attempt to make our faces brighter.
Honestly, I don't think it's really working.
Ideally,
I would have another light, but guess who? And that reminds me of our sponsor.
Dude, we have a sponsor for this video?
Yeah. Can you believe it, bro? We have made it as elite podcasters.
Wow.
This video is sponsored by Dr. Just kidding. No, it's
Bro, I wish.
Every episode, Dr. Squatch.
Dude, if we ever get a Dr. Squatch sponsor, like, it'll be everywhere.
Yes.
Everywhere.
Absolutely. This entire thing's going to transform into basically our bathroom.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to hang like our shower curtain up
right
here.
Yeah, that'd be swag, man. Dude, we would make Dr. Squatch a lot of money. Probably not, actually. But, hey, this video is actually sponsored by Ian Drace Productions. That's where all this beautiful lights come from, the beautiful audio, and the camera you're watching this on. So, I do video production, social media management, and all of the above. Check out the link in the description below. Let's get into it.
Imagine that. We're being sponsored by the guy who's hosting.
Yeah, gosh.
Crazy how that works.
Wow. Hey, at least we could say we have a sponsor.
That's true.
Technically, bro, that sponsor put some money into this podcast.
That's true.
Although it wasn't.
It wasn't for the podcast. We did get a tripod for the podcast.
All we bought was that.
Yeah, was this one right here. That's it.
Yeah. Anyone wondering if we're ever gonna have guests on? We are. We have some people in mind for sure, and we've already asked people. And but we need microphones.
Yeah.
And
otherwise it's just gonna be like we're just gonna be passed around the microphone a lot while we're here. Like in the first 2 episodes, I was holding this one instead of having a stand, and so we'll just have to we would have to do that and just pass around. So if we have like more than us 2 and one other person, we'll probably do that.
Yeah.
So that way we don't have to have like 8 different mics depending on how many people. I don't think we'd ever have that many people on, but
probably max 4 with just the space we have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these are future, like, if we go this far ever in the future. We'll see what the Lord has in mind, but ideally, right, we have 4 mics.
Yeah.
At least 3 cameras. And, maybe 2 lights,
I think it'd be fun to get someone on here soon.
Absolutely.
In the next few weeks.
I think we should figure something out. I'm not promising anything, but I think we should at least figure something out.
But I think it'd be good.
Yes, absolutely. Cool. Anyways, I wanted to ask you, what are you drinking?
All right. I went to the store yesterday, picked up a fresh new thing of chocolate syrup. So
Nice.
chocolate milk is back, baby.
Let's go. Back on the menu.
Yes, sir.
Last week it was just milk.
Just
You looked a
regular
little
milk.
down.
I was a little sad.
Yeah, a little
I was
sad.
a little sad. However, this got me going.
Yes. Dude, and back once again, we have a very special viewer that tends to tune into the podcast that had a big problem with first episode of us talking about Oreos half of the episode.
Lauren.
Sorry. Did we call her out?
Did we?
Wow.
Wow.
I'm sorry, it just kind of slipped.
I don't. Yeah.
Okay.
If you're watching this, Lauren, I'm not sorry.
Totally not.
You brought this upon yourself.
Listen, Oreos is a part of his life, okay? It's
Okay.
like almost canonized.
If you know that's like the one thing you have to know about me, okay? Like, Jesus is first in my life, and then it's stuck between the person across from me,
Oh.
my girlfriend Kaylee.
It's between us, like
And
I'd be happy
Oreos.
if we were like this,
You and Kaylee.
if we were on the same level.
I would say you guys are definitely on the same level.
I will give you the respect if the ring pops one day. I will, Kaylee, if you want, I will let you step up a little bit.
Oh, you'll
Just
let
a little bit,
you'll
like
let
a half step. Yeah. Then you have the excuse, but until then, we share. Okay.
Well, and then when we hang out, I'll have to like ask her, like permission, because I guess that's like a thing that you do when you have like a wife.
I better not be single when that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I ain't about to deal with that.
Yeah. So sorry, we'll postpone the wedding until Ian gets a girlfriend. So I don't know how long that'll take, but
Pray for me, y'all.
for real, that's funny.
Anyways, I also wanted to ask you. This is a little side convo.
Okay.
What is something you're learning in life that's kind of unrelated to spiritual walk?
Spiritual, unrelated
To something
to
else.
spiritual walk. Bro, financing.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. Since I've moved out, and because I haven't been working as much recently, just with plans changing and whatnot,
Right.
Definitely just like learning how not to spend money so quickly. I think in high school it was so easy to. Bro, okay. I got my license and a debit card in the same week.
Wow.
That was a terrible combination because
that is
now I drive my car outside, like on lunch for school. I drive my car and I go get like Popeyes like every day. So
Popeyes?
Yeah, bro.
You like Popeyes that much?
I did.
Okay.
Like the Popeyes chicken sandwich, bro. It slapped.
It's not better than Chick-fil-A though.
It's not better than Chick-fil-A. I'll put it there. Yeah. However, at the time, excuse me. I was in high school. I was stupid, bro.
True.
So like
You were
Popeyes,
pretty
I
stupid in high
thought
school.
Popeyes was
I
like.
wasn't. I just kidding.
You're
It was
so
just a
funny.
joke, guys. Come on.
So funny.
I'm so
Not the
sorry.
slurping.
Oh no, cut.
No, but yeah, for whatever reason, I thought Popeye sandwiches were like the best like chicken sandwiches ever. I'm so wrong about that. Like I had to repent
Oh, I'm sure.
hard
Yeah.
for that.
Cane's is your now like go-to. Eh?
Love Cane's, bro.
Yeah.
Cane's or Slim Chickens?
Oh yeah, some chicken's good. I like some chickens.
You've actually introduced me to one that I really like now too. Blazing
Blazing
Bird.
Bird. Yep.
That's a really good one.
Shot a
too.
commercial for them a long time ago.
You did.
That was like back when I was going free to fee.
Mm-hmm.
I know the owner of Blazing Bird through
yeah.
through a good friend of mine,
Yeah.
Alina, and so back
Shout
when
out.
I was like, hey, yo, I need to like build my portfolio. This restaurant is like growing pretty big, I should do a commercial for them. And they were very generous to let me do a little commercial for them. They didn't really do much for it with it, I don't think. But yeah, it was pretty cool.
But it was cool nonetheless.
I learned a lot since then. But
Yeah. Yeah, but I've been learning how to just like, budget accordingly, not spend so much, not go out as much, cut back on eating out as much as I used to. And so it saved me tons of money. And while I'm job searching, it also just like allows me to continue living longer. You know what I mean?
I see.
So I appreciate, yeah.
Be frugal.
It's been nice. So
yes.
God's been providing nonetheless too.
That's good. This is side topic. I don't know how many times the Bible talks about money, but I know it's a lot. And it's like interesting, right? Because like we rely on the Lord to provide, right? He is our deliverer. But we also have to be good stewards of our finances.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is always this is a partnership with the Lord.
I think of it as like, when you pray for your meal and it's like the most outrageous meal. Like it's
Lord, please bless this food. May it give nutrients to our bodies, and you open your eyes and it's just like a plate full of dino nuggets.
Yeah.
And just like
mac and cheese.
I didn't want to call you out. Mac and cheese.
I called myself out.
Chocolate milk.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty guilty too. Like, you know what I mean? So, or you open your eyes and it's just like Pizza Hut in front of you. Yeah, like that ain't gonna give you nutrients, homie.
Yeah, so I equate that same scenario with like praying for good frugal finances. Finances, like it's like, God, give me some money, but then we just throw it away. It's
for
just,
real.
It's like the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's good.
It is good.
That's awesome.
So I guess it's like kind of spiritual, but like it's also it's a good mix of both.
Yes,
it's a good life skill to have.
Absolutely.
That I've been learning. I know I wasn't necessarily taught that growing up. No one ever like sat me down and was like, "This is how you should like do your money." So I've just kind of like learned like how to budget and stuff. But I learned how to budget pretty well, I think, the last like 2 years. Once like I graduated high school and then I had like a job and like starting to save up for things too. So yeah.
Nice.
What about you?
Yeah.
What's one thing you're learning, Ian?
There's a variety of things. Number one is, I would say,
becoming a wizard.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, he loves Harry Potter. If you cannot tell by his mug, for Christmas, I got Ian this wand. It's a Harry Potter wand, right?
Shoots fire.
It shoots fire.
I shot my brother with it the other day, and it like almost burned his armpit hair.
We rushed into he closed the door, and he was getting ready for bed. And then he was in his bathroom getting ready, in his underwear. And we barge in, and Ian shoots him, and he goes, ah! And he like, as he says, ah, his arm goes up, and the fire shoots right into his pits. And it smelled like burnt hair afterwards too.
I feel bad. We'll insert the clip real quick of me lighting the fire outside.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, so on top of being a wizard. Yeah, I don't know
God
how God feels
about
witchcraft. Yeah, God's like, nope, stop, cut the cameras.
Cut the cameras.
No, so yeah, on top of that, there's a variety of things. I'm gonna act like I didn't say that. Filmmaking a bit. Like I feel like I'm trying to learn how to be better at color grading. I feel like I've had my ways of doing it. I've been good at it.
Are you like trying to expand from like your preferred style? Or?
Yeah, and you can see my style here in the podcast. It's this teal and warm look, which is a pretty common style, but also like a nice darker mood. That's my style, but I want to try other styles, like a more filmic look, or I don't know, different styles.
Yeah.
And so there's this course I want to get, but of course there's a lot of things I want to get. I want to get a new camera. I want to get more lights. I want to get a lot of things. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, I would love to get a new like color accurate monitor. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But there's this course I would like. It's made by like I forget his name off the top of my head, but he does professional color grading for movies and stuff like that, like in Hollywood and whatnot. Makes this amazing course. And I just see some creators online that I'm like, ooh, that looks good. Spicy. So that's a little side thing I feel like I'm trying to learn.
There you go.
It's how to be better at color grading. That's filmmaking. In life, learning
Bro, there's a lot to learn.
There's a lot to learn.
There's a lot to learn. You never stop learning.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to learn the social media game a lot more, which I love and I hate already so much. Because I love it because, like, my ideal client, which is actually a lot of the people in my networking groups, are people that literally have, like, some of them may actually have some following, but, like, most don't have a following, or if they do have a following, say 300 to 900, they just don't get the results at all that they should. Like, they're getting maybe 50 views a reel and 2 likes per video because they're just doing it wrong. They're treating it like it's an ad, and it's not an ad. So I feel like and this is where it's been like a big comparison game in my head, because there's definitely people doing it way better than me.
Yeah.
But I am really good at what I do, and I have gotten pretty awesome results with some of my clients. But what I'm really trying to learn is how to do it better. Yeah. And so I'm doing that by implementing that kind of strategy on my own account, as well as my clients. And then I'd like to get a course on that too. To just because there's definitely things I don't know.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
I love that.
And on a more spiritual level of social media, I would say let the Lord provide the views and the engagement, and not, you know what I mean? Like, like it's easy to compare to other creators that are doing like way more views and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, but your circumstances are way different. So, anyways.
Yeah.
I
think I do have one kind of thing to go with that. I remember when we were at the retreat this last year.
Yes.
And there was this guy named Keenan Clark who came to speak, and it was so good. And so I think it was during one of his messages, and I don't know, this just popped up in my head when he was saying that, but it's like, I really liked how he said it, because yes, rely on the Lord to bring those sales, to bring those clients, to bring in that money, and that cash flow. But he even took a step further of like, rely on the Lord to give you that strategy that nobody else is using, that's going to work better than everybody else's. Rely on the Lord to give you that that study knowledge that nobody else is using to study. Rely on the Lord to give you like all this like hidden information, more than just relying on the Lord to bring it to you, but like actually give you like a strategy inside your head to almost start bringing that in. You know what I mean? Like, there's different ways of how God can bring that kind of stuff in.
I literally heard that up there, but like it's hitting more now that you said that. So thank you for saying that. That's
bro.
That's food for my ears.
Yeah,
I'm feasting right now.
Thank Keenan, bro.
Thank you, Keenan.
He was spitting fire that week.
When does he not?
That's true.
Oh man,
that man is on fire for the Lord.
Jeez,
it's cool.
I feel like we should just shut off the camera, and Mike's just thinking about how good he is. Like, we can't compare. We should just compare ourselves to him and beat ourselves up. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh, that's exactly what we should.
That's what we should do.
No, we should not.
Welcome to the Keenan Faith Creator Podcast. No, I'm joking. It's just a joke, guys. Relax. God.
No, but for real, respect to Keenan. Love what you're doing out there, brother.
If he sees this, then I'm gonna have a little hissy fit.
Are you?
Absolutely.
Hey, man. Well, God's doing his own thing with Keenan, and God's going to do his own thing through us. So.
That's right.
That's right. Speaking of which, shall we dive in today's topic?
Genesis.
All right. So
this was Ethan's idea.
Yeah. So Ian comes up to me like 2 days ago, and he was like, bro, I was like, yo, what's the topic for this week's pod? And he goes, I'm not really sure yet. I was thinking maybe if you had something, we could go with it. And I was like, I have nothing. So I was thinking about it a lot yesterday, and it just came into my mind. Genesis. So today we're going to go through at least the beginning of Genesis, the creation story, the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve. And yeah, we're just we got a lot of stuff. We got a lot of stuff to go through. Yeah. So we're excited about it, and it should be good. And we're going to be diving into the Word a lot. Yeah. And that's always exciting. So
in the beginning,
God
created the heavens
and
and the earth.
Yeah.
All right, kick us off, bro. Kick us
Bro.
off.
Okay.
Dude, look at this. Come on.
I love it, bro.
Stay strapped with all the notes, Brett. I just got it here. Oh my god. No way. Dude, I've been recently, side thing, in a so much better mood as of a few days.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wednesday was rough, but today was
That's good, bro.
today and the last few days, I feel like my old self.
I love
Like
it, bro.
like I haven't felt this good in a while. So
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm loving it, bro.
yeah,
Yeah. So,
this ain't my note.
I mean, I don't really have like a specific place to start at. So, little context.
Let's start at verse 1, bro.
Yeah.
Go
So little context. A few months ago, not a few months ago, about half a year ago, our small group went through Genesis.
Yeah.
And we spent a lot of time in Genesis going through it, and we had a really good first. I would say the first night where we like dove into Genesis 1 was 1 and 2 was just so good.
Oh my god.
It was just so good.
We could have spent 3 weeks on Genesis 1.
Yeah. No, seriously. Or we went through 1 and 3, sorry. But yeah. So yeah, let's just read it, bro.
Yeah.
Like not all of it obviously,
Do you want me to we have different translations, don't we?
we do. So I have the ESV.
Huh?
I have the ESV version.
Yeah, mine's NIV, so I guess you want me to
Go for it, bro.
How far are we reading
Let's go
to?
through
I feel bad for myself in editing. This is a lot of copy and pasting or typing. We got this. You want to read all 1 through 3?
yeah, or go through go through 3. Go through 4. Go through 4.
Dang it. Okay. All right.
1 through 4.
We're going to be reading a lot of scripture, guys. Welcome to the Faith Creative Podcast. Let me get the reading voice on.
No, like verses 1 through 4. Not like chapters.
Oh, I thought we were going through like all the
Oh,
chapters.
no.
I'm like, all right,
We're just starting. Yeah, we're just starting now.
Right, yeah, I like that. 1 through 4. Yeah. Okay. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Okay, anyways. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. 1 through 4.
I love it, bro.
Yeah. Did you like the
Dude,
voice?
I loved it. What can I say?
Sweet.
Yeah, bro.
Let's unpack it.
Yeah, so the first thing that like came to my mind in those first verses was like nothing happened until like God spoke. I mean, like he was just like
It was formless and empty.
he was just chilling over the water. I really like this too, and this is like where where the Holy Spirit or the Trinity is first introduced is in Genesis, where it says, "And the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters," implying that the Spirit was present.
And it's capital S. It's a capital S in Spirit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. And where is it? I was going to say, yes. Okay. And then going back down into verse 26 says, "Then God said, 'Let us make man in our image after our likeness.'"
Yep.
So I just think that's interesting. Like, that's very interesting to me.
Yeah.
Like, God is saying us and our multiple times, and then the Spirit. And I think this is where it can like get confused of like when people are like first diving into this, where it's like, what does God mean by us and our? And I think a lot of people's heads go to the angels, but and God's not implying that the angels are there with him. You know what I mean?
And not all the angels look like humans. From what I've heard. Yeah.
No. No, some of them look absolutely terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah, they do.
But Yeah, so I think a lot of people, because like angels don't create.
Yeah.
God creates. And so what God is kind of saying here, and this is a totally like, this is a human word, Trinity, the Holy Trinity. Mm-hmm. That is, we created that title for it. But what God is referring to is the Trinity, as in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit were all present at the beginning of the story. And it even backs that up right at the beginning of John.
That's right.
Where John is talking about the Word, and the Word is Jesus. And I think that's really important too, to understand that Jesus is God, because that's who he claimed to be. He claimed to be the Son of God. So it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God, back to Genesis where we were just at. And the Word is, again, referring to Jesus. All things were made through him, and without him was not anything, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. And this is all referring to Jesus, and how without Jesus, nothing was created. And everything was created through Jesus, and Jesus was present at the beginning of creation.
Right. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, Trinity. That's a very important thing. I had a conversation once with a Jew, and I don't know if this Jew will just. He was a younger guy, great dude. We had an amazing conversation, just going back and forth, apologetic stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if he just wasn't the most like scripturally based Jew, or if all Jews believe this, but he had no idea what I meant by the Spirit, like the Spirit of God, like the Holy Spirit. And so I don't think I brought up the verse in chapter 1 of Genesis, but I did bring up I think it's 2 Kings chapter 15, where the Spirit passes the cave, right? In that story of is that Elijah?
With Elijah, yeah.
But how the Spirit of the Lord blew by.
Or was it Elisha?
And then also how David talks about having the Spirit. It might have been. Let's go. I think it is 2 Kings, or it might be 1 Kings. I know it's a Kings. I feel like those are the books I know the most, and I can't tell you.
It's Elijah.
Yeah. Am I going way too far? There we go. Let's go and make sure it's not. Yeah, no, it's 2nd. No, that's Samuel. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah, it is 2 Kings. I was right.
It is 2 Kings.
Yeah. Wait, what?
I thought it was first.
It is 1 Kings. Did I? Wait, what? Goodness gracious.
Goodness gracious.
I think it's 16. Is it 16? I'm confused now. Wait. Ahab King. Yeah, no. Bro, what? Where did it go? 19. It's 19.
I thought it was 19. I was looking through it. I was just trying to. I'm looking in 19. I'm just trying to find exactly where the verse is.
Right here. So this is we're picking off on 1 Kings chapter 19 verse. Is this 11 or 12?
I think I found it.
Yes, but
yes.
It says, then a great and powerful wind tore the mountains apart and shattered the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind.
Yes.
After wind, there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. When Elijah heard it, he pulled his cloak over his face and went out and stood at the mouth of the cave. Then a voice said to him, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" He replied, "I've been very zealous for the Lord God Almighty. The Israelites have rejected your covenant, torn down your altars, and put your prophets to death with the sword. I am the only one left, and now they are trying to kill him."
Yeah, so I just got a few notes, just a few different tracks to kind of go along. I know you got one thing here soon too. What I thought was interesting when I was going through Genesis?
What's up?
Isn't it so interesting how God created everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know Do you understand how creative you have to be? Okay, think of it this way. You're an artist, right? For you, let's say you're an artist, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you like nature. I mean, I know you like nature. I know you like the outdoors. I know you love the mountains. So if you want to draw a picture of the mountains, where are you going to go?
The desert.
We'll see. You're ruining my point here.
I mean, there could be mountains in the desert.
There could be. There could be desert mountains.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
See, I'm thinking creative. Okay, I'm sorry. Just go.
But if you want to draw mountains, where are you going to go?
The mountains.
Why?
Well, because I get a good visual of what's already been created.
Exactly. God didn't have that.
Yeah.
When he went out and he created the mountains, when he created the oceans, when he created the living creature, when he created you and me, he didn't have something to look at for a piece of inspiration to draw from. You know what I mean? Like when we were, so this last year, about a year ago, last May, me and a few friends took a road trip through Utah. And so we went to Zion National Park for 2 days. And dude, that is one of the most beautiful places I've ever been to. And I looked at that and I was like, there is a hike there called Inspiration Point. And there's a reason it's called Inspiration Point. And that's because so many people go there to take pictures, to draw or paint paintings, to draw pictures, to just sit there and look at in awe. And it, like, the thought occurred to me of like, man, like nothing that we create is an original thought.
Yeah. Because
everything that we create is derived from something that has already been created.
I have notes on this about like how we're created to create. Let me load these notes up because we went over this on the YA retreat. We had little subgroups, and then some of the creative team at Red Rocks Young Adults kind of taught this point, and I thought it was great, right? Because it's true. You're absolutely right. We can't manifest or really create anything that hasn't been created already. Everything is an inspiration of something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, like, think of it this way. Back in the day, right? People used to take stone and sticks and they made tools. They used those tools to make something else out of the material that has already been given to us from God. So all we're doing is taking what God has already created and turning it into something different. Yeah. But we're not actually, in reality, we're not actually creating something new because God has already made it. You know what I mean?
But guess this, right? So, because it's easy to get in a mindset of like, okay, well, why should we create anything if God just created it, right? God had Adam literally create all the animals' names. He had Adam sit down and say, hey, dude, make up the weirdest name for this elephant or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, he had Adam use creativity to name things and to, like, put identity to something. You know? So, like, just because God created everything and we can't create anything new does not mean our job is not to create.
Yeah. And I think what's also important, when I said that, like, technically, nothing's original because God's created the material and the things that give us the means to create. You know what I mean? And so, however, like you just said, He's given us the ability to create skyscrapers. He's given us the ability to create technology. So we can build those things, but we also have to look at who gave us the materials in the first place in order to make those things.
Yep. And one thing too is like this word creator or like creative is thrown around a lot for people like me that like do video creative work or like actual artists and stuff like that. But people don't realize like Dante, a welder, you, an electrician or an ex-electrician. There is creating things in that. Right, so like I mean, if like they brought this up when we went over that created to create. Going back to the tabernacle, there was very specific people, the best of the best, in which the Spirit filled them to do a very particular role.
Yes.
Like some were doing the priest garments. Some were doing the gold fittings. Like God had the best of the best putting in and doing what they must, and everyone had their own particular role. So when it comes to creation, we all create, and our job is to create. But I think the Spirit has particular roles for us, in which we must do that. And one note I took down that they said that was actually really good, and I'm actually kind of loving at this time, is lay down the burden of trying to be significant. I took that down from what they said up there. I was like, that's actually hitting me right now. That's really good because it's so easy, especially for me, to compare myself to other creators on Instagram or Facebook. I'm like, man, they're doing really cool content. They're doing great stuff. And I think worldly creation kind of looks like this, of where I'm making a cool podcast setup to glorify me, or I am making a cool video edit to put my name on it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Or, I want to be the best boxer in the ring. Why? Because I want my name on it. You know what I mean? So that's, I would say, what worldly creation looks like, is to glorify oneself. But godly creation, especially if we center God into the center of our creative processes, is we're basically taking the unseen realm of heaven and transferring it into a visual piece here on earth. That's what godly creation is. Godly creation is glorifying God through what we do. And it's not always as obvious as, okay, we're talking about God on a podcast. It could be very simple. I'm an IT guy, and I'm just doing typical IT work. How are you taking the unseen realm of heaven and putting that at the center of your work, mm-hmm. and making it something that that people can see in our realm, And I think that's an important thing to take, because if God created everything, right? And like you said, we really can't make anything new. Technically, everything we create points to the creator, right? This couch. I mean, someone did a great job making this couch. This is a nice couch. Looks good on the podcast. The resources that were used to make this couch came from the Lord. The hands that made this couch came from the Lord, right? So everything points back to the creator, back to the Genesis. And, but yeah, and it's very easy for us, especially non-believers, right? Just in the midst, I've been finding myself in this comparative mindset of looking at what this person created or what this person created. Mm-hmm. They just created something that God already did. And God gave them a gift, absolutely. God gave them that anointing to work with those gold fittings, absolutely. We can respect that for sure. And I think it's very important that whatever we are anointed in, whatever form of work we do, that we give it our all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, bro. I love that.
That was random, but I love that.
It's just whatever godly creation is giving the credit where credit is due.
Yes. Yep.
And the only one that is given the means and the material for something to be created, but also the ability within someone to create something, mm-hmm. to make something, mm-hmm. to make something that was, because here's the definition of create. To create is to make or construct something out of nothing. And that is exactly why really none of us have created anything. Mm-hmm. Because we create something, we build and construct something out of something that has already existed. Mm-hmm. We have not made anything new. We go to this world's resources. We go back to our abilities that have been given to us by God, but none of it actually belongs to us. You know what I mean?
It's like a giant puzzle. It's like, and oh my God, look at this. Before this podcast, we were playing a cool game with cards where you lay out 4 cards, right? And then you have to add them up to 24 or whatever you have to do. Some of them don't work, but you can either add, subtract, multiply.
You get 4 cards. You take out the jokers and all your face cards.
Yeah.
And you put down, and you shuffle it up. You put down 4 random cards. Now you have to make it equal 24. And you can do that by subtracting, adding, multiplying, or dividing. And you can do a combination of them.
Yes. And not all of them, like not all sets can equal 24.
No.
And I'm horrific at math. I think in middle school was great, and in high school just made me dumb, honestly. But like I'm sitting there, and then at first, like I said, I'm not good at math. At first, I can only think about if 1, 2, 3, 4 cards just don't add up to each other. It's hard to think. But as we continue playing the game, I started realizing I could do a lot more with the resources in front of me. Mm-hmm. I could multiply. I can add. I could subtract. I could divide. And the more practice I put in, which I still got a lot of practice to do, I was able to think of more solutions to getting to 24. Mm-hmm. I think that's how the world is, right? We have resources in front of us. And our job, right? Adam, God put all the animals in front of him. What are you going to do with that? How are you going to name them? That's where we are. That's our creativity. Yeah. So what's in front of us, right? We got 4 cards. For me, I got a camera. I got some footage. I got some lights. I got a video editor. Cool. I captured what God created. I captured the human being God created, or the thing around,
Yeah.
Cool. How do I make that equal 24? Or my version of 24? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's where creativity comes in, is like, how can we add order to an already ordered world in a way?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think you're exactly right. I think it's like God is giving you this innate ability to do something. And so 1, that's amazing. God has given you the gift to do something. And 2, how can I use that to glorify God? And to glorify God, I'm going to try to develop that gift as much as and here's the thing. God has given us gifts. However, he's not given us the full ability to bring those, the full capabilities of those gifts out. We have to grow those gifts with God.
Yes.
And we have to learn how.
I'm gonna push your microphone back over.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. How can we grow those gifts with God? And how can I make this gift the best in order to glorify God? And I think that's all what glorifying God is about. It's like taking something that he's already given us and multiplying it to the degree of
yes.
People are like, oh my gosh, that's so cool that you can do that. Well, you know who gave me the gift to do this? God did.
Yeah. God
gave me this ability.
Okay. This literally goes back to last week. So I'm going to just build on that conversation just a little bit. I'm not going to go too far with it. Gifts. And this is what I mean by passions. Chances are, not all passions are good, but some passions are implanted by the Lord in your heart. Whether
100%.
that's marriage or sometimes you just have a skill set. But guess what? Sometimes it's not all black and white. It's not just a little box. And I brought this analogy up last week. If you're a teacher, the most obvious path, go to school, become an actual teacher. But think about it. We got 4 cards on the thing, and you're only looking at 1 card. You know what I mean? So if one of those solutions doesn't make any sense to you, right? That doesn't meet, God doesn't feel like it's calling you there, but you have a skill for teaching. God probably gave you that gift of teaching. You got 4 other cards on the table, probably more than just 4, but think about it. Think outside the box. Try multiplying it. Try subtracting it. Try adding it. And boom, you're now using your gift of teaching in a way that you never thought was possible. And God is probably using you to do that. I guarantee it, probably some of the people working on the tabernacle, their specialty wasn't creating gold fittings for the tabernacle. They're probably really good at furnishings and some other things. A skill set that they found passion in, and they grew that in their passion because they found a way, hey, I'm good at this, and I could help things. And guess what the Lord did? Sent the Holy Spirit down and filled them to do God's will. Mm-hmm. Using a skill set that they were developing. So I think, yeah. Anyways,
I love that.
yeah.
Yeah, bro. Let's get into what you
hold on.
want to talk about.
Yes.
With Genesis.
Yes. Real quick before we do that, there was one thing. I know we only read like 4 verses from Genesis so far. I did want to point something out. Maybe. Oh, yeah. I just wanted to point this out. Right in verse 1, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So God, this kind of leads into my point, which I didn't realize this would. God created the heavens and the earth.
Mm-hmm.
During this time, we have the Garden of Eden.
I see where you're going with this.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it seems perfect. The Garden of Eden. It's beautiful. God is literally walking the earth with Adam and Eve. He's on earth. That is what literally we desire in eternity, is to spend time with the presence of God.
Get back to the garden.
Yeah, exactly. We're trying to get back to the garden. Why would he create the heavens if on earth it's almost heaven? Ooh, interesting. It's almost like God had something in mind with the heavens. It's like he had a plan before it all started. Seems like God had a plan from day 0 of our time. Okay, that's interesting. So let's get into what I'm saying. So Adam and Eve are created, right, out of the flesh. It's amazing. We get some key topics of where marriage comes in, right, like the one flesh thing and all of that. That there's a lot to unpack in Genesis that we can't unpack today. But I wanted to go over suffering because I've had family members go through this. We all deal with suffering, and I've heard this in apologetics a lot of. People are asking from a very emotional state of, if God is good, then if God is, gives justice, then why is there suffering on this earth? Why would he plan to have suffering on this earth? And through some studying, I know for a fact we can't know the answer 100%, but I feel like I have a good idea of what God was thinking. So I kind of want to break it down a little bit.
Yeah.
So let's go to Genesis chapter 2, verse 9. It says, at least the NIV version, in the middle of the garden were the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Okay, so we have this beautiful garden, the Garden of Eden. Everything's perfect. We got the good human beings, right? He created them and said they were good, right? Everything's good, right? But we have 2 options here. One of them, the tree of life. That sounds pretty nice. That sounds great, actually. But also the knowledge of good and evil. Okay, interesting. Then we go to Genesis chapter 2, verse 17. It says, this is God speaking to Adam and Eve. And he says, you are free to eat from any tree in the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. For when you eat from it, you will certainly die.
Okay, let's talk about that real quick. Let's stop. So there's the tree of life, correct?
Yes.
And the tree of knowledge of good and evil.
Yes.
And when he says, if you eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you will surely die.
Yep.
Why is it called the tree of the knowledge of good and evil? Instead of there's the tree of life, why isn't it just called the tree of death? Why isn't it just called...
Well, there's 2 trees.
I know what I mean. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
There's the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil.
Yes.
So tree of knowledge.
Yes.
Life and knowledge.
Yes.
Why is knowledge not called death? If it leads to death, why do you think that is?
I don't know. Well, why do you think it is?
Because if we were created to not know evil. We were created to know God and be in a relationship with him, and we were created to be sinless.
Yes.
But if there's evil, there's sin.
Yeah.
So that's where sin comes from. Obviously, they ate from the tree, and that's where sin entered the world. But there's good and evil, so it's great. what, and oh my gosh, in Ecclesiastes, right? Or Psalms somewhere, you were talking about this earlier. You were talking about this like a day or two ago. You were talking about how knowledge leads to.
Oh, yeah. So Ecclesiastes, it's like Solomon, he basically is pointing out that everything is meaningless. Or more of a accurate translation is like, it's like a fog, right? So it's like you could see it, but you can't actually grasp it. So what he breaks up down a few things in Ecclesiastes. Some things are more materialistic things, right? Like, and some things are actually good things, wisdom and that kind of thing. And basically what he's saying is all this stuff is meaningless compared to the glory of God, right? So we get wisdom, and wisdom, yes, positively impacts our world, but if we go too far with it, like we can lose ourselves in the process. But it's also meaningless because wisdom, although it can make our lives better on earth, it doesn't save us. It doesn't necessarily bring us to eternity. And once we die, that wisdom is gone with us.
Let's talk about that too. Is there a difference between knowledge and wisdom?
Well, there are two spiritual gifts under, in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, I think. No. 12. That talks about there's two spiritual gifts, spiritual gift of knowledge and a spiritual gift of wisdom. Special knowledge.
So special knowledge is if God this is an example. If I was going through something, you didn't know me, you didn't know anything about me, and let's say I was going through like a divorce or something, and I was dealing with it, and I don't know you, and you say, hey, God, like you're saying, you come up to me and you're praying over me, and you're like, God's gonna bring you through this divorce, and I'm like, how did you know that? And it is knowledge that only God can give you.
Here it is. The answer to your question. Knowledge and wisdom are different. Knowledge is knowing of. Wisdom is, I feel like, more of like knowing how. Or like, so like, I would say wisdom is more advice, while knowledge is, because like, let's go back to this tree of knowledge. It was not a good decision that Adam and Eve ate from that, right? It led to death. That's why we live in a sinful world. Okay, that wasn't very wise of them to eat from that fruit, but they gained knowledge from it. So, ooh, interesting. This could be a whole sermon. Some fruit is not good for you. Some knowledge is not good for you.
Ding, ding, ding. So, okay, they ate from the tree of knowledge, okay? And it's not just the knowledge of evil, it's knowledge of good and evil. So it's knowing a distinct difference between the two, because before, they only knew good. So how are they supposed to distinguish what was good and what was evil? But when they actually ate from it, now there's a distinct difference, because now you can't have evil without having good.
Yeah.
Because if things are just good, bro.
See, you're going to explain my point for me.
Yeah, because if you bring in, like, if there's just evil, then there's just suffering. You know what I mean? It's just,
Let me explain it, because I have a whole thing written out on this. We're getting there. Remember, topic here, suffering. Okay? Goes back to Genesis 3, after the fall of man, right? So, Genesis 2, verse 17, I'll remind you guys what we just said. This is God speaking to Adam and Eve. You are free to eat from any tree in the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat from it, you will certainly die. So, I want to point this out too. There's two trees that is talked about in Genesis 2:9, where it's the tree of life and the tree of knowledge. Okay, now let's go, keep that in mind. Let's go down to Genesis chapter 3, verse 5. It says, for God knows, this is Satan talking, or the serpent, the snake talking to Eve. God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. So there was two options. And God said in, 2:17, you can eat from any tree except for one tree, the knowledge of good and evil. That means they could have eaten from the tree of life. That's the tree all of us now in this fallen society, the fallen world, are wishing we could eat. Is the tree, the apple of the tree of life. but they didn't. They ate off the tree of good and evil. And what did Satan say? You will be like God. So, okay, this goes back to Genesis 1, okay? So why did God create the heavens when everything was good? But then also, this is weird, why would Adam and Eve be tempted in the Garden of Eden? Interesting. And why would they be tempted to be like God? See, and this is going to go into the book of Job. I'm going to wrap this all up. I promise you guys. This is going to get good, okay? I'm going to paraphrase and summarize the book of Job for anyone that hasn't read it, okay? So Job is this guy. At the beginning of the book, he is completely righteous. He's blameless in the eyes of God. Satan comes up to God and is like, hey, man, the only reason Job is righteous and blameless is because he hasn't had any suffering. I guarantee he won't be thanking you, God, when you have suffering. And God says, you can do anything to him except kill him. So Satan kills his family, takes all of his wealth, and gives them really bad diseases, right? And then so there's three other characters. Well, there's technically four other characters. But three characters. One is, I might mispronounce their name. One is Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar. These are three of his friends. And he's having this conversation, Job. And he's like, guys, I didn't do anything wrong. I don't know why I'm miserable. I don't know why my life is literally awful. God, are you unjust? Are you unjust, God, right? And Eliphaz, Bildad, Zophar, they basically are all like, bro, you're just a sinner, man. Like, I don't know what to tell you, brother. Like, you're just paying for your sin. But what we read at the beginning of Job was that he was righteous and blameless. He actually had he didn't ask for any of this. He was doing good. I wonder if Job is kind of like points to Jesus in a way that way. I just thought about that. Like, righteous, blameless, has to live a miserable life. Like, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I wonder if that's it.
Yeah.
Anyways, back to it. So they're all like saying, bro, dude, and it's a whole conversation, chapter after chapter after chapter with these guys, where they're like, Job's like, no, I'm not. God's just being unjust right now, bro. God is not being cool with me right now. And then all three of these friends are like, nah, dude, you're just a sinner. You just suck, bro. And then our brother Elihu comes. This guy's like knowledge, and he's young. He's younger than all these, than Job and all the three friends. And he's like, I feel like I got the spirit of wisdom real quick. And he drops this bar here in Job 32, chapter 32, verse 2. He says, he doesn't say this, but he becomes very angry with Job for justifying himself rather than God. So the entire time, Job is like, bro, I was fine. I was righteous and blameless. God's the one that's unjust, right? And then here comes Elihu saying, okay, bro, Job, dude, do you realize that you're justifying yourself right now than God? Interesting, okay? Then he goes to say in chapter 33, verse 29, God does all these things to a person twice or even three times. He's talking about the suffering here, to turn them back from the pit, that the light of life may shine on them. So he's referring to God has him in this miserable time in his life. Lost everything, his family, his friends, his health, everything. And Elihu is saying, God has a reason for this. It's to point you back to life. Reminds me of the tree of life. Interesting. You want to say something?
I think I know where you're going with it.
Yeah.
It's a bomb drop.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically how Job finishes, God actually comes down and speaks to Job. And know what he says? He doesn't say, dude, this is exactly why suffering exists in the world. No. What God says for 3 chapters is, hey, Job, you're calling me unjust, but did you create the world? Did you do this? Did you do that? Do you make the lions eat? Do you make all over the place of all the responsibility God does? And Job just says, I am not qualified to speak with you right now. God, and then God goes to Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar and says, you guys are wrong. You three are wrong. It is not because he sinned. It is not because he sinned. Not everything in this world is about, suffering is not about, because I sinned, I am now suffering. Sure, we have consequences to what we do, but that's not exactly why suffering exists in the world. But then he never critiques Elihu. So that's why I think Elihu, and it says the Spirit filled him. I think in 32, I'm pretty sure it's 32, it says that. So I feel like he was speaking through Elihu there. And he dropped that bomb line in chapter 33, verse 29. God does all things to a person, twice or even 3 times, to turn them back to basically life. Mm-hmm. So why is there suffering in this world? And now, usually when people ask that question, they're coming from a very emotional standpoint. They lost a family member. They're struggling with health. They got cancer. They're asking, why is God unjust? They're just like Job. If your God is so good, why would I have cancer right now? And this goes back to Genesis 1. Why there's literally, he created the heavens. God knew from day one we were going to fail. But guess what? Mm-hmm. Jesus came. And he gave us a way out where we can find life today. Yeah. Eternal life today. And he's coming back where all sin and evil is then destroyed, right? So what is the point of suffering? If we were just sitting in the Garden of Eden all of our lives, everything's good. Would we worship God the way he deserves to be worshiped? And this goes back to Job. God didn't say, why is there suffering in the world? What he said is, look at me versus you. You were blameless and righteous, absolutely, but you are nothing compared to me. That's what basically God is saying. Yeah. God created us because he wants a relationship with us. And if we're in this area of life where everything is good, are we going to be appreciative of God? They weren't. Adam and Eve weren't. Yeah. They didn't choose life. Yeah. They chose the knowledge of good and evil. But now, on this side of eternity, Jesus comes down, he's crucified, defeats death for good. We have the choice. That's so important. We have a choice whether we want to follow God or not. He loves us so much that he gives us the option to be with him. We get the option to do that. We don't have to. And once we finally make it into heaven, eternity, after all good and evil is gone, Jesus comes back down, the new earth is created. Guess who's going to want to eat from the tree of life? Because we experienced evil. So we are far more grateful for what God has done for us because we have experienced it.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it crazy how we neglect something that's right in front of us until it's stripped away from us?
Yeah. It's the human condition.
Hear me out. They were eating from the tree of life until they took a bite of the wrong fruit. And now, every day we have a choice of which tree we're going to eat from. And Jesus has given us that choice.
Come on. Pop off.
Are we going to choose to follow Jesus, to take a bite of the tree of life, or are we going to choose to continue to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil?
We have the same option.
Nothing has changed.
Yeah.
Nothing has changed. And you know what also hasn't changed? You know what hasn't changed? We haven't changed. Humans have not changed. We have always been sinner. You know what's better though? God hasn't changed. Mm-hmm. And this is what I also want to get into with this. God did not start over. When Adam and Eve ate from the fruit, he did not start over. He gave us a way out.
Yes.
He said, okay, I see that you sinned and I see that you disobeyed me. There's a punishment for that. And they let them live in that punishment.
Yeah.
They got a glimpse of what it could be.
Yes.
And that is why they were kicked out of the garden. They got a glimpse of what that punishment was.
Yes.
But you know what they also got? They got a glimpse of heaven
Yes.
in the garden.
Yes.
And we get the same thing every day. We get glimpses. Suffering is a glimpse of hell.
Yeah. Come on.
And Jesus is a glimpse of heaven.
Come on.
When we get those glimpses here on earth of Jesus, that is a glimpse of eternity.
Yeah.
That is a bite from the tree of life.
Come on.
So what are we going to continue eating from? Where are we going to continue eating from?
Yeah.
In all honesty.
Yeah.
And man,
That's good.
okay.
I'm thinking about this.
No, I am too.
Like, there's so much being revealed to me right now.
This is new to me.
Yeah.
Like I've never
Me
thought
too.
this way before about this stuff.
This is great.
But okay, I want to go back to the why it's called the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That I don't know why. That just interests me so much. Okay, for wisdom for me, the way I view wisdom comes directly from God.
Yes.
Because in the eyes of God, okay, this is where you have to look at it. In the eyes of God, what is good and what is evil? In the eyes of God, what is wisdom and what is knowledge?
Yeah.
And so I know that wisdom comes directly from God. Mm-hmm. And I know what God says is good, and I know what he says is evil. You and I could have all the knowledge in the world. And I think this is what King Solomon had knowledge. Mm-hmm. Knowledge of how to be wealthy. Knowledge of how to have 700 wives. You knew how to get some girls, okay? Mm-hmm. You know how to pick up some girls at the bar.
That's right. I could use some of that teaching.
But he had all this knowledge, yet it led him nowhere. However, once he started developing wisdom, you know what where that led him? He said all those things are useless. Oh my God, useless, and they're fleeting. Mm-hmm. Those things don't matter when it comes to eternity.
Yes.
And that's where the wisdom started coming in, where it was like, okay, God is actually the prize. Jesus is the prize, and he is what we should be chasing.
Bro, we have a whole 360 here. Okay, let me read this. I'm going to tell you. This is amazing. Proverbs chapter 4. This is Solomon. He says, this is get wisdom at any cost. Listen, my sons, to a father's instruction. Pay attention and gain understanding. I give you sound learning, so do not forsake my teaching. For I too was a son to my father, still tender and cherished by my mother. Then he taught me, and he said to me, take hold of my words with all your heart. Keep my commands, and you will live. That's God.
Come on, bro.
Okay, so we get our wisdom, like he says, from God, right? But then in Ecclesiastes, Solomon's is like, this whole wisdom thing is kind of pointless without God.
Yeah.
Which goes back to the created to be created. Everything that we see has already been created. We're just putting 1, 2, 3 together. That's what wisdom is. Wisdom is our version of like being able to create things here. You know what I mean? Everything has been created. All the wisdom on the earth has been created.
It's taking what God has given us and applying it.
It's applying it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It literally circles back.
Yeah. I
Man,
love
this
that
is
too.
going way too good.
And
We might have to do a part 2 on this. We're filming for a long
and so
episode.
okay, and let's be honest. So suffering. Let's go back to suffering. Suffering is part of this world.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Jesus came down. Jesus claimed he was God, right?
Yes.
And I firmly believe Jesus is God. All right? We just went through that. Jesus was there at the beginning with God.
Yep.
He was God. Okay? We saw that in John. We read that in John. Shoot. Don't lose it, Ethan.
Jesus was in the beginning.
Jesus was in the beginning. Jesus is God. Okay? Yeah. Even he suffered.
Jesus can probably relate with you on a ton of topics. Church hurt. He had the worst church hurt ever. His own church killed him.
Yeah.
He had family die.
Yeah.
John the Baptist died.
Yeah.
So, and this is suffering. Because most people asking that do come from an emotional standpoint. And you could explain it in what we just said of, like, this is the way God wanted us to love him, to actually make our own choice, right? I can't explain to you why your mom died. I can't explain to you why your brother died or your sister or why you have cancer or, we can't explain that. Why, my aunt died way too young.
Yeah.
I can't tell you why she died too young. Why did God choose her?
Yeah.
And if you just sit on that thought, it will kill you. If you sit on, God, you are unjust. Why did you take my mom? It will kill you. It killed Job. And that, like, it sucks. It does. But I want, get in the mind of God, which we can't fully do. But you are at the beginning of all creation. And you want some friends, you want some people to love you. Just like a father would his son. You give birth, your wife gives birth. But you have that, your daughter or son, and it's just like that love, that feeling I could only imagine is just something else. So God is wanting that feeling as a father of the world. But he would absolutely hate if his son didn't understand himself and didn't get to choose for himself to love you. Like, if your son grew up and he made that choice of, mom, dad, you kind of let me down in some areas. We all do. We're all sinners, right? So we all fail a little bit. But I choose to love you, mom and dad. You gave me, look at all the good things you did give me. Or, you just gave birth to me. And not all families are great, right? Not all mothers. But like, that conscious choice makes the world of a difference to God. Ian, you chose to be, like, you are my son. Whether you want to be my son or not, you are my son. But you chose to be my son. You chose to love me back. I loved you first, but you chose to love me back. Put yourself in the mind of God. That's all he wants. And he loves us so much that we got to make that choice. And if we decide to take the other way, there's just natural consequences to that. That's death. That's hell, unfortunately.
Yeah. So yeah. So really, like, suffering is for a reason, whether we learn what that reason is or not.
This takes me. Finish your thought.
And we are called to be followers of Jesus. We are called to be reflections of Jesus. You know what a reflection is? A mirror image of whatever is in the mirror. And if Jesus is standing in the mirror and we're called to be a reflection of him, that means we are called to be like him down to the exact detail. Now, can we do this? No. You know what we are called to do, though? We're called to do it with him.
Yeah.
Where we walk with him to learn to be more like him.
Like, dude, when you're looking in the mirror, you raise your hand up. The reflection
raises.
That's the idea.
Exactly. And so it's like, follow the leader. And so that's exactly what we're called to do. So if Jesus suffered, what makes you think that you're disqualified from suffering? But if the creator of the world is suffering, what makes you think that you can avoid it? But that all points back to there's a reason for the suffering.
Yep.
There's a reason why. I mean, if Jesus suffered, Jesus was the most amazing, most brilliant, most significant teacher in the history of the world. So the Bible says when he was suffering, when he was getting beaten, when he was getting when he was getting whipped, he gave his face. Why? He was trying to, obviously, he's making that sacrifice for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's so much more to that. What is he trying to teach us in that moment? That suffering is a normal thing, and that he's trying to teach us something through that. So what exactly is he trying to teach us? And that brings me to James 1.
Papa.
James 1, faith and endurance. Now, when I first read this, right, I love James. When I first went through James, faith and endurance, those are two very different words. Why faith and endurance?
Mm-hmm.
And so I began thinking about this, and I went on a little note tangent. So, okay, what is the definition of faith? And the definition of faith is complete trust or confidence in someone or something. What's the definition of endurance? Endurance is the fact or power of enduring an unpleasant or difficult process or situation without giving way. Okay, so clearly Jesus showed faith that God is going to fulfill his promise of the lamb. Jesus was the lamb, right? He was the sacrificial lamb. So Jesus has faith that God is going to fulfill his promise, that Jesus is going to be the sacrificial lamb, be raised from the dead 3 days later, and now the rest of us have a way we can spend eternity with God, okay? Jesus remained faithful in that promise. Okay, now he's acting out now he has the endurance to actually withstand all the suffering that is on him. Mm-hmm. And so when I think of endurance, my head directly goes back to cross country. Mm-hmm. We ran cross country in high school and middle school together. Mm-hmm. So when I think of cross country, it was a lot of fun. Not gonna lie, it was a lot of fun. You know what made it fun? The people. You know what wasn't fun? Running.
Yeah.
Okay, so cross country is a sport. Literally, all you do is run. Okay, so if we're running and we don't really like it and it hurts and it makes us sore and it makes us tired, why do we keep on going back to it?
Come on.
And I will tell you every time why. For me, this is for me. After I ran a 5K in a race and I pushed myself trying to get my best time, I felt literally terrible at the end of the race. It sucked. I felt like I wanted to throw up. I was dehydrated. I was exhausted. You know what, though? Once that suffering left and I felt energized again and I felt good again, all of a sudden I looked back and I was like, I really tried and I accomplished it. Mm-hmm. And I accomplished something.
You know what my favorite part about the end of the race in particular was? Our coach. At the last 100 yards, he would always run with us. You got 100 yards left. Let's go.
Yeah.
Pick up the pace.
Yeah.
Sprint it out. It's time to sprint.
Yeah.
Is that not Jesus?
Bro, 100%.
You know what I mean?
Like, at the beginning of the season, you haven't ran all year. This is me. I wasn't as extreme as some people on the team. I hadn't ran all year, so when I started, I had very little endurance. But as the season continued on, and I did it more and more and more, my endurance started to develop. And it is the same thing in our walks with Christ. Because when you first start, your faith in Jesus is not developed. I'm going to be flat out with you. Straight up. It takes a walk with Jesus to develop faith. Mm-hmm. And with developed faith comes developed endurance. Because I will tell you, the first time something came up when I first started believing in God, it was a lot easier to go to the other things first. It was a lot easier to go to porn. It was a lot easier to go to the other distractions.
Mm-hmm.
But now, when those things come up, it's a lot easier to go to God. It is a lot easier to stay in the game with God. Because now God is developing me to where my faith was here when I first started, but God is continuing to develop my faith through experience, through training, through learning, through stewarding, and now my faith is here, which is causing my endurance to grow with it. Because your endurance is going to be just as good as your faith is. And I want to read this verse. It says, "Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So let it grow. When your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing." Okay, let's go through this. When troubles of any kind, large or small. Okay, small. Today at work sucked. A lot of little inconveniences kind of made the day hard to get through. Okay, bigger issues. My family member has cancer and is dying. Okay,
That's actually true.
This is what I'm going through right now.
That's actually true.
This is what I'm going through right now. Any troubles, consider, okay? He's not telling you directly to. He's saying consider an opportunity for great joy. That means there is, a choice. Are you going to choose to let this weigh you down? Or are you going to choose to let it be an opportunity for great joy? This does not mean having great joy in the midst of these unfortunate circumstances. I want to make that very clear. However, if you make it an opportunity and not just something that you have to go through, just another time of where you're suffering and you're just trying to power through it, but you make it an opportunity for great joy of just like, you know what, I'm gonna view this differently. And let's go into that of like, what does an opportunity for great joy mean? And to me, that means relying on the Lord, going to my God for peace. How about this? Worshiping through unfortunate circumstances, worshiping through hardship, saying this sucks right now, but I know my Lord is greater and he's going to bring me through it. That is opportunity for great joy. Yeah. Because I know on the other side of that, God is going to give me great joy.
Yeah.
For you know when your faith is tested, and I think it's pretty easy to tell when your faith is being tested.
100%.
Your endurance has a chance to grow. So, going back to the cross country analogy, when you're in practice and your 5K is coming up right next week, now you're feeling tired during this practice because it's a long run, and you've been running for 6 miles already, and you still got about 3 or 4 to go. Is it going to benefit you to stop and take a walk, or and just stop and give up? Or would it be more beneficial if you continued to just slow down to a jog, not giving up, but continuing to push and continue going? And I would say yes, because you're not stopping completely. You're continuing to push yourself. And after that, that is when your lungs start to get stronger, your legs start to get stronger, and you know what else gets stronger? Your mind.
Yeah.
Your mind starts to get stronger because you're not saying, I'm not going to give in to this suffering. I'm not going to give in to this hardship. I'm not going to give in to this temptation to stop. I'm going to continue jogging even though it hurts, even though it sucks, even though I'm tired. And after that, the next time it comes up, it's a lot easier to continue going.
Yep.
So let it grow. So when we make that choice For when we know our faith is being tested and we understand our endurance has a chance to grow, we can naturally let it grow.
Yeah.
For when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing. And let's talk about that. Obviously, we're always going to need something, and that something is Jesus. We're always going to need that. But I think what this last bit of this verse is trying to say is when your endurance is fully developed, that means the way I view that is like you are unified with Jesus. Like your faith is strong. The way I view when fully developed, I literally think of like when you leave this earth and you are with Jesus now. Mm-hmm. That's the way I think it, because I always believe like you can always learn to grow here.
Yeah.
As long as we are on this earth, we are sinners. And there is always room to grow. There is always something new to learn. And when we are perfect and complete and needing nothing, that is when we have reached the finish line. That is when we have reached the goal, the destination, what we are chasing after, and that is Jesus and eternity with the Lord. We're not chasing after heaven. We're not chasing after a ticket out of hell. We're chasing a person. We're chasing a relationship, and we're chasing a relationship that we're going to spend eternity with.
Yeah.
We're chasing Jesus. And that's why suffering is so important. And that's why Jesus went through it.
Yep. Yeah.
Because it's so important, because it gives us an opportunity to grow closer to our Father who is in heaven.
Yeah. Well, and here's a thought too of like, you can have that view of like, okay, well, cool, I get it, like God's a little selfish and he wants us to love us at the end of the day. But God actually came down in the form of Jesus and experienced immense suffering.
Yes.
So sure, he allowed suffering in the world, yes, and it makes sense, right? But he endured it too. He went through it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's how good our God is.
Yeah.
He's like, listen, I know it's hard down there, y'all. I know it's hard down there, y'all. I know what you feel like. Can we just point out how much suffering is actually in the Bible? I mean, Job sums up a lot of it. David, half of the Psalms are about his suffering. But at the end of each Psalm, it's, God is my shepherd. He is my refuge. He is my fortress. He is my provider. Always ends with that.
And can I say one thing with that too, please? Just because Jesus is the Son of God does not disqualify him from feeling the amount of suffering that we feel every day. It does not disqualify him from feeling the same amount of temptation that we feel every day. Jesus was tempted in the wilderness.
Yeah. Yeah.
He just didn't give in like we do.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy to think about. Like, when they say, like, oh, Jesus was tempted, like, he probably didn't feel that much pressure. You know how much pressure he probably he had flesh attached to him.
He felt what we would have felt.
Exactly how we would have felt. And this guy never gave in. One single bit. So it's not just because he's the Son of God does not mean he didn't feel. And you know what? We can't use that as an excuse either, because we have the same power that Jesus had to get through those things too. We have the same power that Jesus had to get through those temptations. We have the same power that Jesus had to get through suffering. And it's called the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit lives inside each and every one of us. So we cannot use that because he's the Son of God, we cannot use that as an excuse that's why he made it through suffering. That's why he made it through temptation. No, because we have that exact same power present and living inside of us each and every day. We're just not choosing to use it.
Yeah. We're eating off the wrong tree.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Anyways, I feel like we're summing it up. I'm gonna back up what you said in 1 James with Romans 5. Right? I brought this up last week, I think, but Romans 5 says, therefore, since we have been justified through faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ, through whom we have gained access by faith into this grace in which we now stand. And we boast in the hope of the glory of God. Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance builds character, and character, hope. And hope does not put us to shame, because God's love has been poured into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us. Like, so, to wrap it up, suffering sucks. That's where endurance comes in. Endurance isn't fun. It sucks. So, I'm just like we're all suffering. I kind of want to bring this testimony in a little bit because I feel like this was such a powerful testimony of how God moved in my life. You know the story. Some of you may know watching, but I used to go to the gym, a few years ago, and I made this pretty good friend of mine, and I looked up to him in the gym, and I trusted him. But I also felt some weird convictions going on in my heart. And he invited me over one night to have some drinks and whatnot, and I felt conviction. I didn't know what it was at this time. This was literally kind of like my exploration of things. I was saved from when I was young, so now I know the Holy Spirit was convicting me. I still went, and he was also like this masseuse dude. Like he'd like give massages and stuff. So he started giving me a massage, and then he told me to take my clothes off. I didn't take them all off, but I told him, because I was feeling this, I told him very clearly, I was like, don't you even think about doing anything homosexual. Don't touch me weird. Don't do anything. Like, I told him that. And he did it anyways. And then I was in that situation of just like, I don't even know how to get out of this. And then after that, I kid you not, it was only 2 days of like, I would say suffering. Whereas like, I was beating myself up immensely for even letting myself get in that position in the first place. And I didn't want to tell anyone. I wanted to hold that anger in. I wanted to hold, and that anger wasn't necessarily towards him. I mean, part of it was, but it was mainly towards me. How did I let myself get in this position? But this is how good God is, right? 2 days. And I knew God at this time. He was just like, I was just distant from him. I remember talking to my friends about it. I finally let it out. I told my friends. I was like, this is what happened, guys. Oh my God, that was a huge relief off my chest. But the word forgiveness came to my mind. This is only 2 days after experiencing sexual assault. Forgiveness. And I really sat on that word, forgiveness, in pain, what I was going through. Forgiveness. And the next time I saw him at the gym, I told him, hey man, you broke my trust. I told you not to do that. You broke it anyways, but I forgive you. I forgive you. We're not going to go on. We're not going to really have we're not going to engage, in conversation anymore. Like I'm pushing you away, but I forgive you. I forgive you. I haven't dealt with pain from that since. That was 2 days, 3 days after that. And how often does sexual assault ruin people's lives?
Mm-hmm.
A lot. People get raped. They get sexually assaulted. Even family members die. When a family member dies, how often does that suffering absolutely destroy your life? And nowadays, in today's society, I'm going here, we have excuses for it. I'm depressed. I got ADHD. I got prescription. How about instead of relying on these prescriptions, relying on our identity of being depressed, we rely on Jesus? Because what does he ask us to do? The hard things. He asks us to forgive this person. That ain't easy. That's not easy to do. But does it save your life? Yes, it does. And I could say that from my testimony. That could have absolutely destroyed me. I remember those thoughts I had within those first 2 days. That, holding on to that for months, for years. Man, I'm praying for people holding on to that kind of pain right now. Yeah. That's awful.
Yeah.
But guess what? It exists. But Jesus presents a way out because he endured that suffering. He endured that suffering and he died for us. And he presents a way out. How cool is that?
Yeah. Suffering is a means for God to use to essentially grow us closer to him, to see a different side to him than we did before.
Yeah.
Just like you said, what could have destroyed you, God pulled you through.
Yeah.
Said,
Yeah.
this is what I say to do. And he saved you from who knows what trauma and how long that could have lasted for. And I know not everyone is as lucky. However, nonetheless, that just shows, suffering just shows how much bigger God is than whatever you are suffering through. I can tell you right now, God is so much bigger than the cancer that is killing my uncle.
Mm-hmm.
He is so much bigger than the years and the years of sin
Yeah.
that he has done.
Yeah.
And he has the power. My uncle is not a follower of Christ. However, I know that my God, my Jesus, can bring him to a place that I never could. That he's not, because this is the way I look at it. If God has, obviously, being diagnosed with that and saying you have a few weeks left to live, that is awful news. It's terrible news. And you could see that as like, this is so sad. This is heartbreaking. And it is. It's heartbreaking. But you could also say, I know God, and I know who he is, and I know what he is capable of doing. And I know, and this is what I've been telling you. I know he can bring my uncle to Christ in the last few weeks of his life.
Mm-hmm.
Because Jesus brought me to him. It took one day. Mm-hmm. I mean, it took a lifetime of events for me, 100%. But it took one day to completely 180. And I'm not going to give names, and I'm not going to give any other information besides a story.
Mm-hmm.
We've recently been praying over someone who was diagnosed with cancer.
But they were diagnosed for a while, right?
A long time.
Yeah.
And he's been slowly dying and deteriorating. And he has cancer all over the brain.
Young guy.
Really young. And a few months ago, about two and a half,
yeah,
he was given 24 hours to live. And we all banded together, and this is not us.
No.
Want to make that clear.
No.
We prayed relentlessly.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure it wasn't just us.
Yeah.
He was part of his...
Our small group and whoever else was praying for him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And whoever else was out there.
Yeah.
This kid is still alive.
And
he found Jesus. He
After
was baptized.
Yeah.
After he was supposed to die. He was giving 24 hours to live, and 2 weeks later, he was baptized.
Homie's still living, bro.
And he is still alive. God is not done with him yet.
Homie, he's going to be living for eternity.
That's right. So when I say God has the power to change lives and perform miracles in ways that you have never seen, have never heard before, he can do it.
That's right.
And that is why suffering calls for a response of faith, and it builds endurance.
Yeah.
Suffering calls for faith, and it will build endurance.
Yeah.
The response to suffering is faith. And I will say it's not because of how much we can handle through a situation and how stressful a situation is and how well we can distract ourselves from it and how well we can hide from it. No, it's how well our God can bring us through it.
Yeah. I want to tie that back to Genesis, right?
Yeah.
When we try to hold this weight on our own, right? Matthew 11 says for us to cast it on him, cast it on God, right? But when we hold on to that weight, we have to carry that weight, right? You know, Matthew 11 says his yoke is easy, his burden is light, right?
Yeah.
He carries the weight. That, like, my testimony with that one, the whole sexual assault thing, that weight was lifted the moment I forgave him and I gave it to Jesus. Okay, let's go back to Genesis. Back to chapter 3, verse 5. This is Satan talking. For God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like God. When we carry that weight, we're carrying the weight that God should be carrying. So when we are, even as Christians, when we are reluctant to go to God about our sins, about the things we're carrying, our sufferings, I've seen this with our friends. They are suffering, they are struggling, and they hold on to themselves. I am guilty of it.
Yeah.
Why do we feel that pain? Why do we feel the suffering to that extent? We didn't give it to God because we're trying to be our own gods. We're trying to deal with it ourselves. And that's a big problem with the way society is geared right now. Right now, especially in business and personal development, it's you. Do this better. Read more books. Get up earlier. Work harder.
Take colder showers.
Take colder showers. Don't get me started on New Ageism. You are becoming your own God. And what does it lead to?
Yeah.
A ton of weight on your shoulders.
We were never created to be a God. Like,
no.
but like it's clear in Genesis. In Genesis, it says, let us create them in our likeness.
Yeah.
Not like, not exact, but likeness. Similar.
Yeah.
We can never be gods. And you want to know why? It's because I've messed up. It's because you messed up, and you messed up, and you messed up, and you messed up. And that is something we all have in common because we have all done something. And it is not by our works that we get into heaven. It's not our works that we spend eternity with God. It's not our works that are going to impress God. It's not what we say to other people that's going to impress God. It's not what we do for other people to impress God. It's not what we do for God that's going to impress God.
This podcast does not impress God by any means.
Yeah. It's not what we create that impresses God. It's not that what we say impresses God. You know what impresses God? Humbling yourself, saying, I am a sinner. I can't do it by myself. I can't hold these burdens. It's admitting our own flaws and saying, I can't do it. I need you. And admitting that, and that's admitting that Jesus is who he says he is. Of saying, I know who you are, and I know I need you in my life because without you, I can't do anything.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times Jesus has gotten me through something. I can't tell you how many times Jesus has pulled me through something. And I can't tell you how many times I wouldn't be here if Jesus didn't have my back.
Yeah.
If he didn't love me.
Yeah.
And man, I just want, like, I want to share that. Because we know how it is. I know how it was before, trying to carry that weight of, I'm going to take care of myself. I got this. I'm gonna make a future for myself. I'm gonna manifest these things. I'm gonna somehow think of it so much and meditate on it so much that it's gonna come into fruition. No.
The more I think about it, the more my brain hurts.
Yeah. But the reality is we can't do anything without Jesus. We just can't. Like we couldn't even been born without Jesus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
this earth would have been here without Jesus.
Exactly. Like we couldn't do anything without Jesus. Like seriously.
The fact we get to do anything is a gift.
Seriously. Because here's the thing. Like, if God created the world and he clearly created it for man to dwell in, for humans to dwell in, to cultivate,
and the heavens,
to populate, and the heavens, like he clearly created these things. Without that creation, we wouldn't have any of this around us. Like,
yeah.
And I don't know. I think this is the last part. Free will.
I love how you say that's the last part.
This
like a big part.
This is about, like, I guess, like, of like the topic tonight that I have at anyways, but like free will, like the facts that God has given us a free will. And I want to be, this is why free will is so important, because if God was just like, I'm creating these people to worship me, and he's like forcing us to, it's not real worship.
Yeah.
You cannot force somebody to love you.
That's right.
And that's why we have been given free will. Because if all I've ever known is love, how do I know it's love?
Yeah.
I can't know love without knowing hate. I can't know good without knowing evil.
Yeah.
I can't know joy without sadness. I can't know all these things without the opposite feeling or force. And so that is why God has like given us free will, because God is he's given me a choice, he's given you a choice, and that's because he doesn't want, if you don't want to do it, he doesn't want to force you, and that's how much he loves you. He doesn't want a fake relationship with you. He doesn't want to waste your time. He doesn't want to waste your time. But he wants a genuine, authentic, real relationship with you. And that is why he's given us free will. And it's not just like...
And that's the power of faith. I think that's why he's so pleased by faith, is because he's shown himself in the past, but unless it's through the Holy Spirit, he's not showing himself a physical presence today.
Yeah.
You know? And that's what pleases him about faith, is the fact that you can have a relationship better than you and I, both our relationship, without even seeing him.
Yeah.
Sure, you can feel him, you can hear him. Not always. It's not audible. It's not always audible. But the fact that you can have, and what that verse in Luke says, the idea is that our relationship with God is better than any other relationship on this earth. That we prioritize our relationship with God more than our wives, more than our parents, our brothers, sisters, the people we love. That's cool. That's a very powerful thing about faith.
Yeah. And the other thing too is, like, I think it's just so cool of, like, when he sees that you choose, like you said, in faith, of like following Jesus is a counterculture. Everything about it, forgiving somebody over taking revenge, that's such a normal thing now. We're like, oh, that person did you dirty, go do them dirty right back. That's such a normal thing. Or even just like, just it's a counterculture to, as a young person, to stay away from partying, to stay away from toxic relationships. To follow Jesus is such a counterculture, and for God to see that you are stepping away from the norm, stepping away from what everyone else is doing, to stand out. And when we say to follow Jesus, he understands what you're about to get into, because he went through it himself. He was hated. People, they mocked him, they beat him, they persecuted him. So when you step out into that, he knows what you're about to step out into. And when you're serious about it, and we're like, Jesus, here's my life, man, he sees that and he knows what you're getting into. And let me tell you, he will bless that.
Mm-hmm.
And he will pull you through it, man.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's so cool. It's so cool how like you said earlier, like how he experienced it. So the fact that when you give your life to Christ, he knows exactly what you're doing. He knows exactly what you're doing. It's not just, it literally means you're taking the harder road. Because let me tell you, it is a lot easier to live in sin.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot easier to go day by day not thinking about what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And just going through the motions and just living life how you want to live it.
And yeah. And because of it, you experience suffering the same as we do, but you carry the weight of your suffering.
That's right.
Versus, I don't get to carry any of it.
Yeah.
I don't have to.
Yeah.
So, anyways, let's wrap it up.
Yeah. Well, that's our take on like the first like few verses of Genesis.
Yeah. Can I just point out, we started off with, we had some plans to go across the Bible. We went from, in this conversation, we went from Genesis 1 to literally Jesus coming back in Revelation. We didn't quote Revelation, but like the new earth, all that stuff. We covered the whole span of the Bible pretty much. We jumped around. And that's how much suffering is in this book. But that's how much grace, that's how much love, that's how much freedom there is in this book. So, I know there's a lot of people that don't like to read, but seriously, read the Bible.
Yeah.
People relate to you in the Bible.
Yeah.
So,
encouragement to you guys, if you are suffering, find the character of God. Learn what it is.
yep.
Learn who God is, because
A mindset will change your life.
he will change your life.
Yeah.
Seek him. Seek him and you'll find him.
Yep.
He's knocking at the door. If you open
right.
the door, he's going to come in.
Ain't no creaky door either.
No.
It's a nice door.
Full swing open.
That's one big swing door.
Golden gates.
Thank you guys for watching episode 4 of the Faith Creator Podcast. We went kind of crazy in this episode. So if you guys made it all the way to the end,
Thank you for joining us.
wow. Yeah, thank you.
This was a really fun episode. And if you did stick around, we're glad that you did.
Yeah.
We're super happy. We really enjoyed this one. This one was a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
Yeah.
Felt very passionate about it. And
Clearly.
yeah.
I love how that we I feel like we were discovering some of the stuff we were talking about as we were going. So it's like it's being downloaded by the Spirit himself.
No, this is something we were praying about right before we started. It's like we're students of the Lord and we want to learn more too. And this is a way for, honestly, community is where these things unfold, where these things happen, where you learn these kind of things. And yeah, and this is a prime example of that. So we just encourage you guys to find people.
Yep.
Sit down with people, swap ideas with each other, talk about it with each other.
Small groups.
God dwells in groups of people of 2 or more. He does that. I don't know where,
I thought that was something in James, but I could be wrong.
but it is in the Bible. Like
is
that
in
is
the-
a verse. Like God shows up when a
Where
people,
2 or more are gathered.
when 2 or more are gathered, and when people are hungry and eager to seek him and to know him.
That's right.
And so that is exactly what we're here to do. And that is what we want to invite you guys along to do. So thank you guys for showing up tonight for this podcast. We hope to see you guys next week, and we love you guys and we're praying for you guys.